Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're going to tackle prepping for a medical records clerk interview.
Always a good one.
Yeah, and we've got some awesome resources from RoleCatcher to help us out.
Oh, awesome.
So they've got their career guide and their interview guide, and we'll even touch on some of the cool things RoleCatcher's AI can do.
That's great.
Yeah, so we're going to try to help you guys not just understand this job, but also really stand out from the competition in your interview.
Yeah, that's key.
For sure. Well, let's get right to it. I'm so excited to have our expert here today who's going to unlock all the secrets of a successful interview.
I'm happy to be here.
All right, so let's start with like the basics, right? What does a medical records clerk actually do?
Well, in a nutshell, a medical records clerk makes sure that patient health information is accurate, complete, and confidential.
Okay, so it's all about organization and precision, basically.
I mean, think about it. These records are used by doctors, nurses, insurance companies, everyone.
Right, so if there's a mistake or something's missing, it could have some serious consequences.
Exactly. It's crucial to have someone who is super organized and has meticulous attention to detail to manage those records.
That makes a lot of sense. So if you're listening out there thinking about this career, think about how you handle those kind of high-pressure situations where accuracy is everything.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, let's jump into the interview guide, shall we?
Let's do it.
So RoleCatcher has laid out 8 key questions that often come up in these interviews.
Okay.
And a lot of them seem to focus on like high pay regulations, technology, and even how to handle those tricky situations like we were just talking about.
Right.
So of those 8 questions, which one do you think is kind of like the most revealing about a candidate?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think the question about ensuring the privacy and security of medical records is always a big one.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. APP is a big deal.
Oh, for sure. You really want to make sure the candidate understands the seriousness of patient confidentiality.
So the interview guide actually gives some great insights and approaches for answering this question.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it suggests highlighting your knowledge of IPO regulations and emphasizing things like verifying identities, getting the proper authorizations before releasing any information, things like that.
All very important.
Yeah, and documenting everything really carefully.
Yes, always a good idea.
Okay, but let's say I'm in the interview and I want to really nail this question, go beyond the standard answer. What's like a pro tip you could give me?
One thing that always impresses me is when a candidate can share a specific example of a time when they went above and beyond to protect patient privacy.
Okay, like a real-life story.
Yeah, maybe a time when you noticed a potential breach and took steps to prevent it.
Oh, I see. So it's about showing that you're not just following the rules, but that you're really passionate about keeping that information safe.
Exactly.
I like it. So listeners, think about if you have any stories like that you could share in your interview. All right, so HIPAA is obviously super important, but let's break it down a little bit. I mean, what is HIPAA exactly?
Well, HIPAA stands for the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act.
Okay.
And it's a federal law that sets national standards for protecting sensitive patient health information.
Okay, so it's all about making sure that information stays private.
Right. It covers things like who has access to the records, how the information can be used and disclosed.
So let's say I'm a medical records clerk and a patient's family member calls asking for their records.
Okay, that's a common scenario.
Yeah, what do I do?
Well, first you need to make absolutely sure that you're talking to someone who's actually authorized to receive that information.
Right, you can't just give it to anyone who asks.
Nope. You might need to have them sign a release form or provide some other proof of their relationship to the patient.
So even though they're family, there are still strict procedures to follow.
Definitely. HIPAA doesn't mess around when it comes to protecting patient privacy.
Makes sense. All right, well, speaking of things that don't mess around, the career guide mentions something about electronic medical records and all these new technology advancements.
Yeah, technology is changing the game for medical records clerks.
So how exactly is tech impacting this role?
Well, the days of paper files are pretty much gone.
Really?
Yeah, most healthcare facilities have switched to electronic health record systems, or EHRs for short.
Okay, so computer skills are more important than ever.
Absolutely. You need to be comfortable navigating software, entering data accurately, and troubleshooting any issues that come up.
And the career guide actually lists a whole bunch of knowledge areas related to computers and electronics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it mentions things like data entry software, medical software, spreadsheets, word processing software.
It's a lot to keep up with.
For sure. So listeners, think about what systems you have experience with and how you can highlight those skills in your interview.
Good advice.
All right, so we've talked about the importance of organization, attention to detail, tech skills, IPA knowledge. Sounds like it takes a lot to be a successful medical records clerk.
It does, but it's also a very rewarding career path.
Okay, so the career guide actually outlines some potential advancement paths, like becoming a medical record supervisor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so based on your experience, do you see any common threads or patterns in how successful clerks climb the ladder?
Well, one thing I've noticed is that those who are always eager to learn and take on new challenges tend to advance more quickly.
Okay, so always be learning. Got it.
Yeah. And networking is key too, attending industry events, connecting with other professionals.
So build those relationships.
Exactly. It's all about staying engaged and showing that you're serious about your career.
That's great advice. And speaking of resources, the career guide also has a section on related careers, which might be worth checking out.
Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah, it can give you some ideas for different directions you could take your career in the healthcare field.
That's cool.
And there's also some stats on average work experience and on-the-job training, so you can kind of get a sense of what to expect.
Awesome.
All right, so let's talk about RoleCatcher's AI.
Oh, yeah.
This is where things get really interesting.
I am intrigued.
So beyond all the great info in the career and interview guides, RoleCatcher's AI can actually be your secret weapon in the job search process.
Okay, how so?
Well, for one thing, it can help you tailor your resume to each specific job you're applying for.
Oh, wow. That would be super helpful.
Yeah, so instead of sending out the same generic resume to everyone, you can use RoleCatcher's AI to analyze the job description and identify the keywords and skills that are most important to that employer.
So it's like having a personalized resume writer.
Kinda. It takes all the guesswork out of figuring out what the hiring manager is looking for.
I love that.
And then there's the tailor to your target job feature in the interview guide intro, which is all about using RoleCatcher's AI to help you practice your answers and get feedback.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, so you can actually record yourself answering those tough interview questions, and then RoleCatcher will analyze your responses and give you personalized feedback.
So it's like having a mock interview with a robot.
Well, a really smart robot. It can even assess your body language and tone of voice to make sure you're coming across as confident and professional.
That's so cool.
I know, right? So if you're feeling nervous about your interview, RoleCatcher's AI can help you feel more prepared and give you that extra boost of confidence.
I can see why you're so excited about it.
Definitely. And the best part is it's free to use.
Oh, wow. That's even better.
Yeah. So if you haven't already, definitely check it out and see how it can help you ace that interview.
Will do.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, but I think the biggest takeaway is that preparing for a medical records clerk interview is all about understanding high pay, embracing technology, and showcasing those amazing organizational skills. You need to be able to convince the interviewer that you can handle confidential information, navigate electronic health records like a pro, and keep everything running smoothly even when things get hectic.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Now, before we let you go, I want to leave our listeners with a little something to think about.
Okay.
Imagine you're in a fast-paced medical environment. There's a million things going on. How do you balance the need for efficiency with maintaining accuracy in those medical records?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's something to ponder as you continue your deep dive on RoleCatcher and prep for that interview.
Awesome.
Well, best of luck to everyone out there on their job search journey.
You got this. Welcome back, everyone. We're going to keep diving into those interview questions, really get into the nitty-gritty of what those hiring managers are looking for.
Exactly. And, some of these questions can be tough.
Yeah.
Like, they seem straightforward, but then you start thinking about it, and it's like, wait, what do they really want to know?
Right, right.
So, for example, the interview guide has this question about electronic medical record systems.
Okay.
Like, describe your experience with them, which seems pretty basic, right?
Huh.
But is there a way to, really make your answer pop, stand out from the crowd?
Definitely. So think about it. Everyone's going to say, oh, I've used Epic or
Yeah.
whatever system.
Right.
But what you want to do is show that you understand how technology impacts patient care.
Okay, so not just data entry, but the bigger picture.
Exactly. So instead of just listing the systems you've used, talk about a time when you used technology to improve efficiency or maybe streamline a process.
Ooh, I see. So it's about showcasing your ability to really use those systems to make things better for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And if you've ever had to troubleshoot any technical issues, that's always a good thing to mention too.
Oh, yeah, like you're the go-to person when the computer's acting up.
Right, because healthcare settings can be pretty high pressure, so showing that you can handle those tech hiccups with a cool head is a big plus.
Makes sense. Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about confidentiality.
Okay.
There's a question in the guide about handling confidential patient information, which is obviously a huge deal.
Huge. Can't emphasize that enough.
So, how do you approach this question in a way that really shows you get it, the seriousness of HIPAA and all that?
It's all about showing that you understand and respect patient privacy, right? So don't just say, oh, I follow HIPAA regulations. Anyone can say that.
Right.
You want to give specific examples of how you've actually implemented those security measures, protected sensitive data, really gone the extra mile to keep everything confidential.
So the interview guide mentions things like verifying identities, getting those authorizations before releasing anything, keeping meticulous records of any disclosures. It's like being a detective for patient privacy.
I love that analogy. Yeah, you're the guardian of those records, making sure they only go to the right people.
And I guess every organization might have slightly different procedures too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So is it okay to acknowledge that in the interview, like, say you're willing to learn their specific way of doing things?
Absolutely. It shows that you're adaptable and committed to doing things by the book, no matter what.
Okay, so it's about being thorough and showing that you take those rules seriously.
100%.
All right, let's talk about accuracy for a minute.
Okay.
The interview guide asks, how do you ensure the accuracy and completeness of medical records? Which seems like, more than just double-checking your work, right?
Right. It's about being proactive, really having that attention to detail.
So let's say you're reviewing a record and you spot a discrepancy or something's missing. What do you do?
Well, you don't just ignore it or hope someone else catches it.
Right.
You dig in, you investigate, you make sure it gets resolved.
So it's about taking ownership of the accuracy of those records.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, those records are vital for patient care.
That's true. Okay, well, we talked earlier about RoleCatcher's AI being a secret weapon. Well, it can also help you with your interview answers, refine them and make sure you're hitting all the key points.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like having a coach who can give you feedback and help you improve your game plan.
I like that.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of the technical stuff, but there's also the human side of this role, right?
Oh, absolutely.
The interview guide asks about handling difficult or sensitive situations with patients or their families, which I imagine requires a whole different set of skills.
It does. You need to be able to stay calm and professional, even when people are stressed or upset.
Right, because medical records clerks are often the first point of contact for patients. So you're kind of the face of the department.
Exactly. So you need to be able to communicate clearly and compassionately, put people at ease, even in those tough situations.
So empathy and patience are key here.
For sure. You want to show the interviewer that you can handle those emotional situations with grace and understanding.
And the guide suggests using the STAR method here too, right?
Yeah, but focus on how you remain calm, listen to their concerns, and explain things in a way that they could understand.
So it's all about showing that you can de-escalate the situation and build trust with the patient.
Exactly.
Now, I want to touch on something we mentioned earlier, the connection between medical records and billing.
Okay.
The interview guide has a question about experience in this area, so why is that relevant for a medical records clerk?
Well, medical coding and billing might not be the primary focus for every medical records clerk position, but it's a valuable skill to have, especially if you're looking to move up in your career.
And the career guide mentions that in smaller healthcare settings, medical records clerks might be asked to help with these tasks.
Right. So even if you don't have tons of experience, showing that you're willing to learn and adapt is always a good thing.
So if you've taken any courses or have some basic knowledge, definitely mention that in your interview.
Yeah, it shows you're proactive and interested in expanding your skill set.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive, really explored how to answer those tough interview questions.
Yeah, we've made some good progress.
Let's take a quick break and then come back for our final segment where we'll talk about how to use RoleCatcher's AI to really polish your resume and those interview answers, research potential employers, and just make a killer impression in your interview.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
And we're back. It's time for the grand finale of our Medical Records Clerk interview prep deep dive.
Let's do it.
We've talked about high pay, tricky interview questions, all that good stuff.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
But now it's time to bring out the big guns, the secret weapon, RoleCatcher's AI.
Ah, yes, the AI.
This is where things get really exciting because it's not just about having a great resume and answering questions well. It's about making sure you're the perfect fit for each specific job you apply for.
Right, that's key.
And that's where RoleCatcher's AI can really help. So tell me, how does this AI magic work?
Well, imagine you found this amazing medical records clerk job posting, right? You upload it to RoleCatcher, and the AI analyzes the entire thing, looks for keywords, skills, everything that screams ideal candidate.
So it's like having a personal recruiter in your computer telling you exactly what the hiring manager wants to see.
Exactly. Let's say they really emphasize experience with a specific electronic health record system, like Epic or Cerner.
Okay.
RoleCatcher will pick up on that and suggest that you highlight any relevant experience you have, even if it wasn't your main responsibility in a previous role.
So it's all about making sure your resume is tailored to each specific job.
Exactly. No more generic resumes.
So it's like RoleCatcher's reading the hiring manager's mind and giving you the cheat sheet.
Pretty much.
Okay, that's amazing for the resume, but what about the actual interview? Can AI help with that too?
Absolutely. That's where the AI-powered interview practice comes in.
Okay.
Remember all those tough questions we talked about?
Yeah, they were pretty intense.
Well, RoleCatcher gives you in-depth guidance on how to approach each one, with sample answers tailored to the specific job description.
So it's not just generic advice, it's really personalized.
Exactly. It takes into account the role, the company, everything.
Wow, that's impressive.
And the coolest part is the feedback feature. You can record yourself answering those questions.
Oh, wow.
And then RoleCatcher analyzes your response, tells you how you did, gives you feedback on your delivery, the content, even your body language.
It's like having a virtual interview coach. That's incredible.
It is. It takes all the guesswork out of interview prep and helps you fine-tune your performance.
So you walk into that interview feeling super confident and prepared.
Exactly.
Okay, so AI is obviously a huge help, but there's no substitute for good old-fashioned preparation.
Oh, absolutely. You still got to do your homework.
So the Career Guide is a great resource for learning about the role, the responsibilities, the skills they're looking for, all that.
Yeah, and don't forget to research the organization itself, their values, their challenges, how your skills can help them.
Right, because it's not just about getting a job, it's about finding the right fit.
Exactly.
Okay, so final words of wisdom for our listeners who are about to head into that interview.
Take a deep breath. Remember everything we talked about. You got this.
And don't forget to use RoleCatcher's AI to your advantage. It's a game changer in the job search world. We're rooting for you. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.